Hey, let's say you're trying to execute a massive project, but a peer in another department is completely dropping the ball. Like, they just don't care. You don't have the authority to fire them, but they are kind of tanking your metrics, making things go down. What's the immediate reaction most people have?
Let's be honest. The immediate reaction is, I want to put my two hands
There we go.
around there. No, let's be serious. We've been there where our success is not dependent just on our team, but on team members, leaders in other divisions. And what's happening? They may not be as organized, they may not have the right structure or plan in place, and your success is dependent on that. So what happens is they drop the ball, you're still held responsible for your results, but you feel like there's nothing you can do because you can't fire them. You can't just go over there and put hands on them. So you're in this awkward place of, what do I do? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Today, we're talking about the anatomy of leading sideways, right? So welcome to the lab, and let's lock in.
Why is leading sideways so much harder than leading up or down? Could you explain that?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. One, when you're managing your one ups and your one downs, you're in direct influence with them. So you're a direct manager, you work with them each and every day. Your metrics are aligned, your goals are typically aligned. One, with your direct reports, you have a level of authority. So sometimes if the influence isn't working, which I talk about influence, then you can use a little bit of authority, right? And when you're talking with your boss, you can really start to ask questions to align and get into a good place. Now, when you're leading sideways, that's a little bit different because when you got peers on your left and your right, you have to rely completely on influence. You have no authority to do anything. And where a lot of leaders get into trouble or a trap is using they believe that complaining equals tattletaling. And you know the rules, like you can't be a snitch, right? Or snitches get stitches, whatever your framework is, right? So what ends up happening is most people try to take on that other leader's work. So they'll do their work and then just jump on a grenade and be a martyr. And that's not gonna work either. So there's different ways that we gotta handle it.
Now, it's incredibly easy to take another department's lack of urgency kind of personally. So, how do you handle this with love and grace?
So I have a saying that I use in life.
What's that?
Somebody else's urgency, excuse me, somebody else's procrastination doesn't create an urgency in me. And you've got to understand that is that on the other side, just because you think, hey, I need this now, that other department may not have that same fire. It may not be as high as a priority in what they're trying to do. So the first thing is you got to apply grace to the situation. And how you do that is removing the emotion. So you got to take the emotion out of it. I know you hot. I know your fists are clenched up. You got to remove the emotion from the conversation. Then you have to understand that their lack of urgency is not a personal attack on you. It honestly has nothing to do with you. It's really just about their prioritization and what they got to do. How you apply love to this is you have to learn how through influence you can drive accountability through extreme clarity, right? And you got to hold the line to professional. You cannot get into personal debates about who they are, what they care about, things like that. It's through clarity of what the task is that needs to be done is how you'll get the results that you need.
Now, if they're not complaining to the boss or if they just don't decide to do the work for them, what is the tactical move? Would you mind breaking down the shared scorecard?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I'm going to tell you something straight. Stop sending the frustrated emails. And you know what I'm talking about. When you do the as per my last request, and you start detailing out like this hate mail that you're sending out, like you got to stop doing that because that accomplishes nothing. All that does is create tension throughout the departments, and you're going to get less done in the long run than what you need. So what you need to do is first create a public visual scorecard, right? And what this does, it shows who owns what and the exact deadlines that need to be met. So when you make this public, what it does is it silently creates accountability to everybody involved. So if I know Joe is responsible to get the analytics data by June 10th, everybody in the whole business now knows Joe has to get that by the 10th. So on the 10th, I may not even have to go to Joe. Joe's boss might go to him. One of his peers may be like, hey, I was looking on the scorecard and I saw you're supposed to have that by the 10th. So it creates accountability in that space, right? And then you have to make data do the confronting so you don't have to. So that's that same point of we've set guidelines now on what needs to be done and when it needs to be done. So all you have to do is speak to that.
I might incorporate that into my business right now. Actually, I'm not even gonna lie. I will utilize the shared scorecard, sir. I'm actually gonna do that. We're gonna talk after this. But look, how true is the cross-functional influence actually built? Like, how is a true cross-functional influence? How do you do that?
Yeah, so it's probably one of the least taught tasks in business, but one of the most important if you truly want to be successful. Because you know you cannot succeed on your own, and you're gonna need to partner with other people, other lines of business, maybe even other companies to reach shared goals. So being able to work through these partnerships effectively is gonna be the goal. So influence is built through accountability, but you can't do accountability through authority in this space. So you have to expose the gap with data and then let the facts lead the peers. You do that, you're gonna win 100 out of 100 times. So for you guys, if y'all got comments, questions, if this is a topic where you're like, man, I'd like to hear more about that, share that in the comments. That's my time for today, but as always, let's get to work.